Don't use another AI prompt until you've watched this video. Because if you're copying prompts from LinkedIn or getting them out of random newsletters, you're probably getting results that are hit and miss anyway. And then you got to modify it for your specific situation. And you start thinking, this would have been faster if I just done it myself without AI. You can make AI work harder for you. But how can you make sure you're getting the best results in the least amount of time? Does prompt structure make a difference? Do you need to change prompts based on what model you're using? Look, I went deep with ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, and Claude and asked those exact questions. So you can stop wasting time and start getting exactly what you need. I'm Laura Zovelson, and this is the Gen Expert Show, where I focus the AI discussion around what moves the needle for independent consultants and agency owners. Only the stuff you need to grow your business without being a waste of time. So you can skip the FOMO, ignore the hype, and maybe even get your nights and weekends back. So if that sounds good to you, hit subscribe, then grab your favorite beverage and let's get started. So when I started doing the research for this video, my hypothesis was simple, right? I thought that each model would have its own perfect fit prompt structure. So my plan for the video was to give you the one best structure for each of the big four models. So GPT, Perplexity, Claude, and Gemini. But then I discovered there's something even easier. And so I threw all that out the window. And that's what I'm going to share with you in just a second. But first, I want to ask one question up front. Where did we get this idea that you needed to be an engineer to write a good prompt? I looked into it, and it turns out that the earlier generative AI models, even the ones we had 8 months ago, they were more sensitive to exact phrasing. So the wording used to matter a lot more. But now, models like GPT 4.0 and Claude Opus, they're a lot more context aware. They handle ambiguity better. They even will ask you clarifying questions if your ask isn't clear. So it means a lot of those viral prompts that were getting a lot of traction online, even 6 months ago, they're just no longer necessary, and certainly not for basic stuff. But for client work, a good prompt is still well worth your time, because if you're working with complex data, or if your clients expect polished, high integrity deliverables, and this is especially important in like niches like legal or healthcare or tech, right? Precision matters. So this is why the way you ask a question can actually be fundamental in getting you those high quality client ready results. Okay, so back to my R&D on prompts. So the first thing I did was I asked each model directly, what's the prompt format that's going to give me the best results? So here's what ChatGPT 4.0 said. It said use the CTRA format, right? Context, task, requirement, audience. And then I asked Gemini, and here's what it said. It said you should use something called C suite, and that means client, scenario, unique value proposition, instructions, tone, and execution. That's super cute, right? And then I asked Claude and Perplexity, and they basically gave me their own versions, but they were all different, right? Okay, well, when I started comparing them side by side, here's what I discovered. They all share the same core elements. So it just does not need to be this complicated. And this is something that's driving me crazy with AI right now. There's so much of what's out there that's just filled with BS and jargon. And what actually matters if you want to unlock AI, it's not magic words. It's being clear about what you want. So all that stuff in your feed, like use these 5 prompts to make $1 million by next week, or this is the one prompt that every consultant needs to know. Just stop saving those right now, okay? You can do it yourself, because those kinds of prompts are just going to get you generic, uninspired output. What you actually need are strategic, client ready assets, preferably yesterday. And by the way, part of getting those great client results is using the best model for the task that you're working on. So if you didn't catch last week's video, you might want to go ahead and put this one in your queue. All right, so let me go ahead and show you the best way to structure a prompt so you're not stuck with whatever you saw in the rando LinkedIn post. But first, let's talk about when you even need to use a structured prompt, right? If your question is simple and straightforward, just type it in. Don't overthink it. But if you're looking for nuanced or detailed outputs, whether it's market research or content creation or strategic planning, I would recommend some structure. So what I did is I put down 2 prompt formats, and they work everywhere. And if you want the cheat sheet, so it's going to include what I said before, which model to use for which tasks, And the universal prompt formulas that I'm going to share with you in just a second, you can download your free copy, and I'll put that in the description and the show notes. So, what I figured out from comparing all the prompt formats is this: they all boil down to the same foundations. So, here are the two that work across all four models: ChatGPT 4.0, Gemini 2.5 Pro, Claude Opus or Sonnet, and Perplexity. Option number one is CTC: context, task, constraints. So you're going to want to use this one when you know what you want. So clear deliverables, no ambiguity about the audience or purpose, pretty low complexity. So context is what's the situation or background. The task is what exactly do you want done? And the constraints are things like format or length or tone. So here's an example of the CTC format. Context: I'm preparing a board presentation about Q4 financial results. The task: summarize these financial results in three key takeaways. And then your constraints are how you want it done, right? Keep it under 100 words, use business formal language. But I think when we're doing client work and we really want to produce, sort of top results in the shortest amount of time, it can be useful to add some additional detail. And so the second prompt I'm going to give you, you can remember by the word actor. Okay. Audience, context, task, output, and requirements. So this one is especially good when the quality really matters and when we're getting into complexity. Um, Multi stakeholders is a great example when this could be useful. Like, let's say you needed to create a product roadmap for engineers and executives, and you wanted a Gantt chart and a risk matrix. All right, that's a lot of different moving parts. This is a good time to use the more detailed prompt. Okay, use it for client presentations, for instance. I think it's especially valuable when you need specific expertise or perspectives, like maybe you're doing a technical deep dive or you have industry specific language that you wanted to use. Okay, so here's the example for this one: audience role. You're a financial analyst, and this is for C suite executives. All right, then the context: we missed Q4 targets by 15% due to supply chain issues. So you see how specific that is, right? So then the task: create a recovery plan for Q1. So we're asking it to really be more strategic in its thinking and not give me the three bullet points of what the data says, right? Then the output: provide 5 bullet points with specific metrics. And then finally, the requirements: focus on actionable steps, not theory. Okay. So you should be able to use this framework to build a pretty complex prompt that encompasses what you want it to do. And this should be getting you better results on that first attempt. And then you can iterate and follow up to make sure, to refine it. So these two universal prompt formats work because they answer the questions that every AI is trying to figure out. What's happening? What should I do? And how should I do it? So, in other words, it's just like working with interns, right? So, all those fancy names that you're seeing in those complex infographics, out on the web, they are just different labels for the same structure. Pick whichever format feels natural and useful to you. The AI does not care about the acronym, it just needs the clarity. So, what's actually going on with AI? Like, why are people out there selling you like AI playbooks and prompt vaults and all of that? AI is moving really quickly, and we're moving from command line style prompts to natural language conversations. So you don't need to speak the machine's language anymore, which is really what those prompts were about. It's speaking your language. So, what really matters is that you articulate what you want clearly, you provide context, and then you really do need to iterate with it based on the responses. So, here are my last thoughts on making prompting a whole lot easier. First of all, grab my cheat sheet. Okay. It's got everything I just covered. It's kind of got when do you need a prompt, when do you not need a prompt. And it also has my cheat sheet on matching model to task. So, fellow Gen Xers, getting out of the office, getting in the car, putting on Don't Stop Believing, turning it up to 11. I will see you next time.